Hi guys, it's David here from Writing Resources, and this video has been made to help you understand some of the key factors of mice and men. So this video is a quick quiz or a very short lesson to test your understanding of the plot, context and key quotations that we see within the novella. Quick fire questions. Attempt the questions to help test your general knowledge of the novella. So the first one says, how many days is a story told over? Number 2, what period is the novella set in? Number 3, what is meant by the term migrant workers? Number 4, what is the Great Depression? And number 5, who is the most respected worker on the ranch? So if you'd like to pause the video now and actually think through your answers or maybe write them down, please feel free to do so. What we're going to do now is go ahead and have a look at the answers. Again, if you're not 100% sure about any of these, do go back and have a look at the video and just test your knowledge and just see how well you understand the general information about the context surrounding the novella. Now that you've had a chance to consider your answers, let's have a look at the correct ones below. So number 1 asked you, how many days is the story told over? So the story is told over the course of 4 days. Number 2 asked us, what period is the novella set in? And the novella is set in the 1930s. Number 3 asks us, what is meant by the term migrant workers? So migrant workers are people who move to another country or area in order to find employment. In particular, it's seasonal or temporary work. Number 4, what was the Great Depression? So the Great Depression was the worst economic downturn in history of the industrialized world, lasting from 1929 to 1939. So think about what a big period that is in those 10 years and how that affected the people living during that time. Number 5, who is the most respected worker on the ranch? So we're actually talking about the novella specifically now. So Slim is the most respected worker on the ranch. Okay, just check your answers now then. If there's any need to go back on, again, you can pause or change the duration of the video to go back and check your answers with the questions as well. Now we're going to look at a few of the integral themes within the novella. If you have a look on the right hand side, we've got 3 images that represent key themes within the novella. The first thing I'd like to do is try to identify the theme represented by each image. So we have 3 images, therefore we want 3 themes that we see within the novella. The super challenge, link each theme to a specific character or part of the novella. And the final challenge, the mega challenge, we're really going to stretch ourselves here. Try to recall any key quotations that are linked to each theme. So if you'd like to pause the video here and spend a bit more time having to think about this, you're more than welcome to do so. I'm now going to go ahead and reveal the answers for each one. So the first one here is loneliness. So I want you to have a think, what character or specific part of the novella might this represent? We've got dreams. Again, that's a really big one. It affects the majority of the characters in the novella. And the last one is friendship. Again, friendship was an interesting one because this is something that wasn't really happening for many characters. During this time in America, the idea of having companions and having friends wasn't always something that was deemed normal. But we definitely see it in characters such as Lenny and George as well. Now we're going to look in a little bit more depth at the theme of dreams. So this is arguably the most important theme within the novella, and we're just going to go through some of the main points that you need to be aware of in order to accurately write about the novella. So first thing I'd like to bring to your attention is the American dream. So the American dream is rooted in American society and included in the Declaration of Independence. So specifically, this is the line that I'm focusing on in terms of dreams and how it relates to the characters within the novella. So all men are created equal, and that each man and woman has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So when we look at things like liberty, that means freedom. So they have the freedom to make their own choices and their own decisions. And the pursuit of happiness, it means that they're allowed to have goals and dreams, something to aim for, and they should have the means to be able to achieve what they want to achieve. So when we think specifically about the novella, The workers on the ranch have dreams as it gives the monotony of their lives some sense of purpose. So if you think about the kind of manual labour they would have been doing, this might be quite monotonous, which means repetitive, and to get them through the day, that long back-breaking labour, they need to have a goal or an aim, something to work for, or some dream or hope to strive towards. The theme of dreams is introduced at the very start of the novella when we meet Lenny and George and hear about their dream of one day owning a farm. So this is why it's something extremely important, because it's something that gives us the first insight into the characters and what bonds them and their relationship going forward. The dream sustains them throughout the novella and even gives hope to other characters as well. So we see there the effect of the American dream and the powerful nature that it has and how it influences everyone else within the novella. All of the themes that we just looked at are very important to understand the novella. Specifically, this video is going to focus on the theme of dreams. Look at the characters below. What dream do they have within the novella? So Lenny and George, have a think, and I'm going to reveal the answers now. So first of all, George and Lenny have a dream is to scrounge enough money together to buy their own house and a plot of land. They dream of roots, stability and independence, and this is a very common dream that people would have had during the Great Depression as well. Curly's wife. If you'd like some more time and pause it and go through it yourself, please feel free to do so, because Curly's wife and Crooks are going to be a little bit harder to recall than Lenny and George. So Curly's wife. Her dream is very different to Lenny and George's. Curly's wife's dream is to become a movie actress. A man once told her he'd put her in movies, but Curly's wife never heard back from him. So in her own way, she has the same kind of dreams in terms of wanting a new life and wanting to achieve certain things, but ultimately she's doomed to fail in a similar way to Lenny and George as well. Finally, we have Crooks. So Crooks' American dream consists of his being a part of George and Lenny's plan to buy their own ranch. He quickly realises, however, that this dream is just that, and that he has no chance of it ever being realised. So he's, if anything, the more aware person of the situation that they're in. He realises that their dream is simply a dream and nothing that's actually going to become reality. Now we're going to have a look at a few key quotations surrounding the theme of dreams. As we look at each quotation, you're going to notice that there are going to be key parts missing out from each one. What I want you to do is try to figure out what is missing from this quotation. It's a really good activity to have a go at, just to test your understanding of the key moments within the novella. As we reveal which words are missing, I want you to try and stretch and challenge yourself and consider which character is it that's actually said one of the key quotations. So as you can see there, it says, could have been in the blank and had nice blank, and I could have sat in them big hotels and had blank took of me. So take a moment, have a think, what is missing from those blank words there, and what character has actually said that quotation. And I'm going to go ahead now and reveal the answer. So you can see there, that's the full quotation in its entirety. So it says, could have been in the movies and had nice clothes, and I could have sat in them big hotels and had pictures took of me. Hopefully we all would have been able to figure out that that character was in fact Curly's wife. She's talking about her dream of becoming a movie star, which we know is ultimately something that's never going to become true for her. Okay, we're going to move on and look at the next quotation now. So, second quotation says, I seen blank of men come by on the road and on the ranches with their blank on their back, and every damn one of them's got a blank, 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 blank in his head, and never a goddamn one of them ever blank it. Okay, so this is a really important quote for one of the key characters as well that we just mentioned. Try to have a moment and just think what goes into the spaces and who it was that's actually said this famous quotation. I'm going to go ahead now and reveal the answer. So now you can see the words in red were the ones that were missing from the quotation. I've seen hundreds of men come by on the road and on the ranches with their bundles on their back, and every damn one of them got a little piece of land in his head, and never a goddamn one of them ever gets it. So this is of course a very famous quotation from the character Crux, which ultimately helps to summarise his overall realisation that his dream is never going to come true, and neither is the dreams of Lenny or of George. So now we're going to look at the third and final quotation. Okay, blank, we're going to get the jack together and we're going to have a blank blank and a couple of acres and a blank and some blank and. Now this is quite a difficult one. It's one you probably would have heard time and time again, but it is quite difficult to think what goes into those spaces. So if you need a bit more time, pause the video. I'm going to go ahead and reveal the answer. So the full quotation says, okay, someday we're going to get the jack together and we're going to have a little house and a couple of acres and a cow and some pigs and of course this is something that George is constantly saying to Lenny, and something that they repeated several times throughout the novella. Really important quotation, specifically important when we think about the theme of dreams. Now we're going to move on and have a look at the writing task. This is a typical task that you could attempt just to test your understanding and your knowledge of the theme, and also some of the key quotations that we've just looked at. So the question we're going to look at is here: how has the theme of dreams been presented in the novella? What I'd like you to do is to go through the challenges. So the first one, recall 2 or more quotations to use for this response. You can use the ones that we looked at in the previous part of the video, or you can use ones from your previous knowledge of the novella as a whole. Super challenge, identify the key words or techniques used in the quotation. So what could you zoom in on? What could you analyse to give us a greater understanding of the importance of the quote? And the final one, write your response using the prompts on the next slide. Use the example below and attempt the challenges that follow. So this is the exam question that we were just talking about. It's just a typical thing to get a little bit of practice to demonstrate our understanding of the novella and get used to writing about quotations and the key themes within the text. So here's a student example. Steinbeck has used blasphemy to present the theme of dreams in the novella. This is evident in the quote, and never a goddamn one of them ever gets it. Crux has been used to represent the reality of dreams. Despite how determined Lenny and George seem, Crux has seen the situation before and understands the difference between dreams and reality. So what I'd like you to think about, this is a real student response. Is this a good response? Is it something you would have wrote yourselves? Or is it something that you would have changed or adapted to make this response more appropriate? What I'd like you to do is think about this question up top. So how has the theme of dreams been presented in the novella? Use a student example and see if you can't write a response yourself, just for practice and just for getting into that swing of things of thinking about the key themes within the novella and using quotations appropriately to support your ideas. If you need any additional support or help, then new videos will be added every single week. Alternatively, please leave us a comment and subscribe. Or you can visit our partner channel Bookworm Teaching for more lessons and guidance on all things English. Thanks guys, and all the best with all your future revision.